Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll work with letters, which are basically strings. Okay? Now, what is a string? A string is a group of characters in a specific sequence. You specify a string in Ruby by putting quotes around it. Now, they can be single quotes or double quotes. So in the last video, when we were creating the hello world method, notice how we already started working with strings. You specified the string by putting it within quotes. So my name is Masroor, this entire thing is a string, okay? So in this video, we will work with strings and we'll check out a few methods that we can use on strings. So first, we're going to go over to our code directory and then Ruby projects and create a new file. And we're going to call this playground. Okay, now pull up playground.rb. All right. So let's create a string with my first name. All right. And I want to display it. So to do that, I'll put in puts and my first name is Masroor. All right. So this Masroor is a string. I'm going to save that and then let's run it. So over here, I'll navigate over to code, Ruby projects. Okay. So to run it, Ruby playground.rb, you'll simply print out my first name. All right. Now I want to print out my last name. Save that, run it again. It prints it out in 2 lines. Okay, so Masroor Hussain. What if I want to print out Masroor and Hussain in 1 line? Then I can simply remove this puts, move it to the first line, then put a plus in between it, okay? Now this is called string concatenation, where I am basically adding 2 strings. So let's see what that does. Save that. Masroor Hussain, but there's no space in between, right? Because I didn't put any space in between it. What we can do is add 1 character right there, empty space over here, then another plus, okay? So now we're saying Masroor, then space, then add Hussain to that. Let's see what that did. Masroor Hussain, perfect. Now, notice how we are basically updating this program and then we are running this program again and again. Now, this can get a little annoying if all you want to do is play around with code and learn how things work. Ruby actually provides an ideal playground for you. It's called IRB, and it's basically a playground environment where you can test out Ruby code. So let's pull up IRB console. To pull up IRB, type in IRB. Okay, now let's do exactly what we did here, down here. But before I do that, notice how this is the bottom of the screen. I don't want to do that. Since I'm going to be in IRB, I want the whole screen to be IRB. To do that, on right here, see this button? It says toggle full screen. If I click on it, now this is the only screen that's displayed. If I click on it again, I go back to my previous screen and I have both my editor and my file tree. All right, so I'll move back there. All right, so here, first, let me specify first name. This is my variable, okay? And I'll assign it to Masroor. And then last name, I'll assign it to Hussain. Now I can do string concatenation. Instead of typing out Masroor and Hussain, I can use the variables first name plus empty space plus last name. Hit enter, Masroor Hussain. Perfect. Now, how do I know all the methods that are available to string? Okay, first of all, let me do something like this. Let's say first name. I want to know what class this is in Ruby. To find out, simply put a dot class. See, it's saying it's class string. Okay? If I do the same thing with a number, you'll get a different result. Let's say 1.class. It's a fixed num. Okay? Because this is an integer, it's not a string. Now, what if I want to find out what methods are available to my string class? Okay? So I can do something like this. First name dot methods. And check it out. It gives me all of these methods that are available that I can use on string. Okay? This is amazing. Check this method out over here. It says nil. Okay? So what if I want to try it out? First name dot nil question mark. Answer is false because first name is not nil. What if I do an empty string dot nil question mark? It's false also. Now what if I want to do nil dot nil question mark? It equates to true because nil is nil. Okay? False dot nil question mark? False. All right. So play around with it and see what are the things that you can do with this. Now, notice how I'm at the bottom and I'm in my IRB console. I want to clear up the screen. How do I do that? So I can do Control L and that clears up the screen. All right. Okay. So now I want to display what my first name was. So since I'm in the same IRB session, I can simply type in first name. It still has Masroor. All right. Now something about variables here. Notice how first name is Masroor. What if I say first name also and I point this to first name? So now if I do first name also, it says Masroor. But here's the tricky part. This first name also is actually not pointing to first name. A variable doesn't point to the variable. A variable points to the assignment of the variable. So basically, first name also is pointing to Masroor in memory, okay? Now, if I change first name now to, let's say, new Masroor, okay? Now if I type in first name, it's new Masroor. But first name also is not going to say new Masroor. First name also is still pointing to that space in memory. Let's try it out. First name also. Notice how it still says Masroor. So this is important to remember is that variables don't point to variables. Okay? Variables can point to strings, it can point to integers or anything, but they don't point to variables. They point to that space in memory or the assignment of that variable. Okay. Now we're going to talk about string interpolation. All right. So what is string interpolation? Let's say I want to type in my name in a line. Let's say I have my name is Masroor Hussain. All right. Now what if I say name equals Masroor Hussain? And then my name is, instead of typing out Masroor Hussain, what if I want to just simply say name? Now, what will this do? It will simply print out my name is name because this is a string, right? This is simple. However, if I did this, my name is pound open brace name. Now what it's doing is this pound open brace name is saying don't print out pound open brace name. Print out the value of this name variable, which is set to Masroor Hussain. So let's see what that does. Hit enter. Check it out. My name is Masroor Hussain. It basically prints out the value of that variable. All right. This is called string interpolation. And it doesn't work if you use single quotes. For example, I can say my name is Masroor Hussain within single quotes and it works. But if I do my name is pound open brace name, single quotes, it simply prints out my name is name. Okay? It did not print out the value of name. Now what is this backslash over here? This is an escape character. It's basically saying that it escaped this pound name. Whatever is after that are some key characters in Ruby that would usually evaluate to something, but over here it's escaping that. Okay? let's say I wanted to type in, hey Chris, John said, how are you doing? Question mark. Notice how I have this single quote and it's within a single quote. Do you think this is going to work? Nope, this is an error. So how would you do this? To do this, there are two ways. You can either make this, the single quote, a double quote. So let's try that first. Hey Chris, John said. Now if I use single quotes, how are you doing? Question mark. This will work. Hey Chris, John says, how are you doing? Now this within quotes, it worked. The other way is I can use my escape character to escape the single quote within the single quote. For example, if I did single quote, hey Chris, John said, if I use the backslash, okay, then I put in within quotes, how are you doing? And then close that and hit enter. Oops, I didn't escape that. Let's see. All right. So I got into a loop over there. What happened is I didn't escape it and then it kept doing new lines. Every time I hit enter, it was a new line. Okay. So let's try that again. Hey, Chris, John said, escape this character. How are you doing? Question mark. Okay. Then escape the quote again and then close quote. Okay, hit enter. Check this out. Hey Chris, John said, how are you doing? Within quotes. So even though I use single quotes here, since I escaped the character, it basically printed it out. It didn't evaluate to some keyword in Ruby. Okay, so I'm going to clear this up by hitting Control L. All right. Now, what are some of the other interesting methods that we can use? I won't go through a lot of them, but some regularly used ones are, for example, first name, which is new Mashur, first name dot length. It gives the number of characters in the string. So first name dot length evaluated to 10 because there are 10 characters in the string. What if I change first name to new equals new Mashur close quote, but I put a space in there, okay? Now if I do first name dot length, it evaluates to 11. It counts the space as a character, okay? And this is where the empty space dot nil, notice how it evaluates to false. It actually has a space. It counts it as a character. If you put empty space dot empty, it evaluates to false. However, if you put no space at all and you put in dot empty, then it evaluates to true. However, if you do no space at all, dot nil, which we tried before, it evaluates to false. So basically, empty is a good alternative to nil if you're looking for empty spaces, because the output for nil will evaluate to true, since nothing in a string is still a string, so it's not nil, but nothing for empty string, it evaluates to true. All right. Now the last thing I want to do, first let me exit out of IRB. Okay, so I've exited out. Now I'll go back to my previous screen by clicking on this in the top right, toggle full screen. Okay, now in my playground RB file, I want to update this file to get input from the user when I run this program. See at the bottom here, when I run this program, I want to get input from the user. How do I do that? So first I will write out some string. I'll say puts hello, enter in your first name. Okay, save that, run it. So Ruby playground.rb. All right. Now, how do I get input from the user? I get it like this. First name. First, I'm going to just assign a variable. I'm calling this first name, but I can call it anything. Okay. First name. The input I want to get from the user at the terminal over here, I get it by gets.chomp. Okay. Save this, run it. it will do nothing except get your first name. It'll ask for your first name. So I will enter in Masroor. But then it's not doing anything with Masroor. So that's it. That's all my program is equipped to do. But check out how it actually got input from me. Okay? So now what do I do with this input? Let's say I want to say welcome and then whatever my first name is to the playground. Now, how do I specify what I got over here? I've stored what I'm getting from the user in this first name variable. To display variable, remember string interpolation, I can do pound open brace first name, which means the value of this first name variable, close brace, space, and then save that. So let's see what that did. Hello, enter in your first name. I'll say Masroor. Welcome, Masroor, to the playground. Perfect. What if I put a comma over here? Save that. Run this. Perfect. Welcome, Masroor, to the playground. Now, what if I want to get my last name also? So last name equals gets chomp. And over here, I'll say welcome first name, space, pound, open brace, last name, close brace, to the jungle, let's say. Okay, save that. Let's try it out. Hello, enter in your first name, Masroor. But I didn't put a very good looking prompt over here, so it'll just prompt me again for last name. So maybe we should update that. I'll pull in Hussein. Welcome Masroor Hussein to the jungle. Now over here, if I do a puts, what is your last name? Save. If I rerun this, Masroor Hussein. Welcome Masroor Hussein to the jungle. Perfect. So that brings us to your homework assignment. All right. And the homework assignment is going to be, just like you created this new file, playground.rb, you're going to create a new program called analyzer.rb. Okay. And in Analyzer, you're going to get input from the user that says, what is your first name? And then once the user inputs the first name, you're going to say, what is your last name? You're going to get the user to input the last name. And then you're going to say, welcome, first name, last name to the analyzer. And then I want you to display two more things. You're going to output the length of the user's first name and last name, but you're going to say, welcome user, your first name is this many characters and your last name is this many characters. And remember, we use the .length method to accomplish this. So you can use that. And then you're going to go one step further and you're going to display what is the reverse of the user's first name and last name. Now, how are you going to find out how to do that? Simple enough. Over here, jump into console by typing in IRB. Let's say first name equals John. How do you reverse John? You can simply say first name dot reverse. There you go. John is reversed. So that's how you're going to first create a variable that adds first name plus last name, and then you're going to reverse that entire variable. Okay? That way you can get, let's say, John Smith, you can reverse the entire string. All right. And once you're done with this program, I want you to paste the code in the discussion area. Okay? So we can take a look at it. And the solution for this will be provided in the next lecture. So don't worry if you get stuck at any point. And that's all I wanted to cover in this video. And in the next video, we're going to start working with numbers. See you there.